Welcome back to another first impression, this time for the anime, Reincarnated as a Dragon Hatchling. Synopsis on any list. Our hero needs to come out of his shell, literally. Reborn in another world inside a dragon egg, he doesn't have the amazing magic or mighty physical strength of your typical isekai adventurer just yet. He will need to break free and grow from a weak hatchling into a fearsome beast if he wants to escape the deep, dark forest unscathed. What battles and adventures await him in this unique take on the isekai phenomenon? So we have another isekai. Yay! Now, different to other ones, we are starting off in an egg. We are a monster. Now, this is not necessarily something totally new. There are a bunch of these in available isekai where you are a monster. But here we start literally in an egg. We are some kind of egg monster. It's the very beginning and we try to get stronger. Now, as always in isekai genre, we have a couple downfalls we can run into. One of them being that we grow too strong too quickly and we don't really have that growth anymore. The show tries its best. We don't grow OP instantly. We have a somewhat interesting growth period, or not period, but we have an interesting system. Now, as a monster, you get level. You defeat enemies, you get level. The more levels you get, the more your stats grow, the stronger you are. Until a specific part. As a monster, you have a maximum level you can reach. And as soon as you reach that maximum level, you can evolve. You can decide, or at least our character, in which direction you want to go. All of the directions have different positives and negatives. Some of them could be very strong. They could have a good stats grow. However, they don't really have that much in terms of evolution later on, as he is a little baby at the beginning in an egg. He can decide which direction he wants to go. Maybe he wants to go into like a little dragon type, which could grow strong very fast, but it doesn't really have the opportunity to grow into some of the fearsome and boss dragons, as an example. So it is interesting. We have a nice little concept. Seemingly humans don't follow that. Same idea. Now, they do not really show us how the progression goes, really, in terms of stats. We know whenever he levels, he gets an increase in stats, but we don't really get a little snippet of, hey, this is where we are at the moment. Now, every level doesn't really do, or better, showing the stats every level would be a little bit too much, but every now and then, when it's important, it would be nice to have a little overview. Here are the stats we have at the moment, to see how he compares to other people he comes across, like other monsters. There is a monster in the first 3 episodes that is very strong, and we see the stats of the very strong monster and its abilities, but we don't really have a comparison to our character, which is missing a little bit. I have read the manga of this show, so I know in some way how it would continue, and I feel like we got to see the stats a lot more. Again, there are shows that have, in the isekai genre, sometimes you have like the status screen, which we have here as well, where you see the stats of the character, and in some of those we overdo the showing of the stats. It is just too many stats. It's just over and over. You see they have like a billion abilities that is then taking up the whole screen. Understandable. But not showing us this stats is a little bit... We would need them a little bit more to see the comparison, especially whenever he decides to evolve, to see, okay, this is the stats we have now. This is what we get after evolving. So we have a good comparison. Same with the skills. What skills do we have? We get like a little bit to see. Now, at the beginning, we don't really know what these skills do, and we have also titles that seem to have a buff. We also don't know what those do. We get to know that later in the first 3 episodes, because I'm assuming he didn't have the skill available to really get the information. He also is accompanied by some kind of voice. I don't really remember what it was called, but it's more or less like a tutorial. Like, he can ask that voice, hey, what is this skill about? And the voice is then going to answer that question if it is high enough level. So there are some parts that I like. Being a monster, again, even though it's not totally fresh, it is something that is a little bit less common, which is good. We have somewhat of a... It feels somewhat fast, it feels somewhat slow, because, you know, we do have evolution going on. And with the evolution, you go back down to level 1 to a new higher max level. Now your stats are most of the time, it seems, still better than what you had before. So it feels like we are growing fast, but in the grand scheme, we are still growing pretty slow, which is what it is one of the big things I want in an isekai. I want that growth period where we slowly but surely get stronger. Because if we are too strong too quick, we don't really have that going anymore. So if we get across, if we come across an enemy that is stronger, what are we going to do? We are already OP. So I like that we do have some time going on. Naturally, the main character is not that smart. Now, there is a stat in the word for intelligence, but he's also isekai. So he is somewhat stupid in the grand scheme, it feels like. We naturally also have humans in this world, as I was alluding to before. They seem to have a different scaling. They seem to have a level, but it may work differently because it does not feel like they evolve. I could be wrong. We have a couple fights. Some of the abilities, I mean, one of the abilities very, I find fun. You know, a little bit of a fun artistic implementation. It's more or less Sonic. Our main character is Sonic. He can roll like Sonic can, which I like. I like the idea. It's a little bit of a fun, unique ability to use instead of just punching magic or whatever. We just roll on the enemy and see them hating. And it's, you know, it has a little bit going for it. The animation for the fights was not that great. Overall, I would say it's bare minimum or bare acceptable at this moment. Again, the main character is pretty stupid. Otherwise, he seems okay. The humans we got introduced to, we don't really know much about, but it seems fine. The world seems... It is still pretty early, but we do have some interesting creatures already. Or it's not that they are, oh, this is full of creativity, but we have at least something going on. Again, I would say we just go into ratings. That is probably better than me waffling around. Any list has it at 63%, my anime list at 6.6. I would say the first 3 episodes, I would give it a 7 out of 10. I see some potential. It could be interesting, especially with the end of like the 3 episodes. Could be interesting. We will have to see. Now, I am going to do a little bit of a spoiler thing here, just for one little part, which I found somewhat interesting. So, spoiler. Now, we have a couple evolutions. We get from an egg to dragon baby, you see in the picture, and from dragon baby into a bigger dragon, you see. Now, the whole reason why he goes down that transformation or this evolution path is because the voice was telling him that this evolution path would be able to transform into human. But as he transformed, he did not get the ability. And the voice is not elaborating how he is able to get that ability. Which is interesting. Now, it could be that the voice is acting on its own, so it's not really a tutorial type of thing, but someone controlling behind the scenes. Or maybe he has to wait for some specific trigger to transform into human. But I found this one a little bit interesting, that maybe the voice is its own entity. Because otherwise, he more or less bound himself by evolving into this direction. But that is all. We also had the encounter with the slime, but that was at the end. We don't really know what is going on there.